Thank you so much, and welcome back to the lift with your Auntie Sheila. I've got your back. As promised, I'm here with part two. Yesterday we covered the basics, but this is part two of please stop. Whatever you do, stop trying to prove yourself to other people because it is going to end badly for you. Bottom line. I want to acknowledge a wonderful and loyal subscriber, Claire. Claire, you are the winner of the comment of the week because you laid down some key advice for Jay. If you haven't watched part one of this video, please go back and watch part one. Jay sent me a note really up in arms about this upcoming wedding, and he's in this situation because he's trying to prove something to his father. And I just want to go over Claire's wisdom, and then I'm going to get into some additional information that I want to share as a follow-up to part one. Please stop proving yourself to others. Claire says, you have given someone a higher seat of power. And Claire, I think you're spot on. This is where so many of us run into a problem. You have put someone on a pedestal, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that in a second. And you also said, as a reminder, you get what you settle for. Another spot on comment. And thirdly, her advice for you and words for you, Jay, a loving family will understand that you've gotten yourself into something, it's gone too far, your heart is really not in it. So again, I thank everyone for your comments on yesterday's video, and that's what makes the discussion robust. We're all chiming in. So I wanted to share a few things just to overlay yesterday's message and how dangerous this automatic behavior can be to let me prove myself to you, because I've put you on a pedestal, or I'm deferring to you, whatever the case may be. I'm positioning myself where I have to prove something. Number one, I'm going to give you 3 things to think about. First, it is so important that you see yourself clearly, because if you don't, it leaves the playing field wide open for you to be manipulated. Now, let me share this case in point. This was some years ago. I was sitting with a lovely lady, had been divorced for 5 years, hadn't dated, nothing like that. And guess what? She did the unthinkable. She did the unthinkable thing of accepting a date for some coffee with someone. I mean, can you imagine that? 5 years solo, and you have the audacity to accept a coffee date. And so who do you think but her ex-husband? He comes, chimes in, wow, really? You're asking me for extra time to watch the children, a little bit extra time? Wow, you need to really look at yourself. You're not a good mom. That's really irresponsible what you're doing. How well do you know this person? And on and on and on and on. So she had dealt with this for a number of months, and she reached out and she said, Sheila, I just feel like, what's the use? I thought 5 years was long enough. And she was actually contemplating canceling this off. Great guy, they're moving into month 7 or 8, wonderful person, but here she has this ex who's taking her on some head trip about her parenting, and she was looking at backing off of it. And I said, woman, if you don't continue on in this awesome relationship, I'm gonna get you. Now you're upsetting me. But she was in that situation because based on what he was saying, then you're questioning what a wonderful, and I got to know her, and she was and still is a wonderful mother. And by the way, today she's married to this man. Both of her children are getting ready to finish up college accordingly as her plan has been. But you see how dangerous this was. All it took was for him to kind of cast some doubt. You're a bad mom. We know what that was about. She seemed to be a wonderful mom when you were the one dating and she had the children the whole time. All of a sudden, she asked you to step up a little bit more, and she's a horrible person. So this is, I'm giving you an idea of what can come into play when you don't have an idea of who you are. I tell people candidly, you have to know two things about yourself. What are your celebrations? What are those wonderful strengths, that make your heart sing, that make others sing? Those are your celebrations. And that, and we smile with that. We can validate that for ourselves. But also, what are you working on? The celebrations are one thing, but you have to be aware of what the danger zones are, the work in front of you, so no one can roll up on you and it's like, boom, it hits you over the head like it's a surprise. Or when someone is threatening accusation, a part of you that like you can't tell me I'm a bad mom. I know I'm a wonderful mother. What are you talking about? You go look in the mirror. So this is where it comes in, sitting with yourself, the daily journaling, doing a level of self-assessment and self-reflection. It's so important to build that intimate relationship with self so you're not derailed when people say something and it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't match what I think of myself, or this is new information, and they get to program your self-esteem. That's dangerous. So knowing your strengths and also knowing where your areas of work and challenge, very key. Secondly, I want to talk about this, and it's nothing to be ashamed of if you are looking for help, support, and a technique to break this cycle of seeking approval and validation, proving yourself to others. I love this work in this channel because we come here. This is a safe space forum to really get into this work. No one's looking over your shoulders. No one's judging you. It's a personal way to elevate. So understanding what that compulsion is all about, and I got into that a little bit yesterday in the video, but if you look at that word compulsion, the basic definition of that is an irresistible urge, and an irresistible urge to do something that you really don't want to do. You don't want to do it on a conscious level, but it's just this urge that's pulling you to do it. And I could go on and on about the origins of that. Sometimes this starts in childhood. The validation wasn't there. On the flip side, the bar may have been set so high that you have unrealistic expectations. And in so many ways, when that happens, a person can become a show pony or can become an individual that's just you're craving that direction, guidance, validation, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But one of the things, if you're really looking to break this pattern for yourself, I want you to go into a self-assessment, because when you're talking about the momentum of a compulsion, it's automatic, and if you don't do something to stop yourself and break up that energy, you're just going to flow into this automatic realm. So I want you to go into self-assessment, and I want you to ask yourself two key questions. First, what is driving me? What is driving me in this moment? What is driving me? That's number one. And then secondly, what am I being driven to? I need you to go 5 or 6 steps beyond so that you can really touch mentally and spiritually the end result of what you're doing. Case in point, I was walking someone through this work very recently, and she said, oh my gosh, Sheila, this stuff really works if you work it. My friends were really like, hey, we're going to go on this cruise. We want you to go too. And Sheila, it's not that I didn't have the money. It's just that I have a specific goal and I'm saving for something else. And ordinarily, I really felt that pressure. It would have been like, oh, okay, it'll set me back a little bit. But Sheila, I literally stopped and I'm like, what is driving you? Answer the question. I just the need, acceptance, please them, approval, be a part of. Okay, back up. Where is this driving you to? Okay, I'm going to go on this cruise in a few months and be, out a couple $1,000s, and I'm not going to have reached this other goal that I'm saving for. And so just by isolating that, she was able to really get into that space of, yeah, I'm going to be sitting there. Wow, I really wish I hadn't done that. So the discipline to stop yourself and to self-assess. And by the way, you may need to excuse yourself. You may need to run to the restroom, whatever you need to do to get a handle on yourself at the moment. That's what self-assessment, the discipline to self-assess and ask these questions, that's what that is all about. So I encourage you to really go in to, again, what is driving me and where am I being driven to? And the third piece, I want to piggyback off of what Claire said. I would caution everyone, please don't put anyone on a pedestal. Putting people's judgment in a higher place than your own, it's very, very dangerous. I know for myself, and I thank God every day. And the reason why, I'm pushing this with a 2-part video is because I know what the hand of God can do. He can pull you out of these behaviors that have been strongholds. And certainly that was the case with me. And, I can remember as a kid coming of age, I just didn't have a lot of strong modeling, number one, in guidance, and number two, in supporting me in gaining confidence and competence and my decision making. I was one of these little kids kind of looking around for clues and cues inside of my environment, like, is this okay? Is this right? And it set this pattern, a very toxic and debilitating pattern of, looking around and deferring to other people. And here's the thing, and you guys know, you've watched this channel long enough, I don't mean anyone any harm, but at least in my case, half the people that I was looking to for these clues and cues and guidance, they didn't know their behind part from a hole in the ground. This this is the dangerous thing, deferring to people, is worse than the blind leading the blind. I had some idea, they had none, so I want you to understand and be in touch with early patterning, because that gives you some information on, okay, how did this debilitating habit form? Even the children that I've worked with over the years in my practice, and I love to even visit schools and sit with children today. And one of the things I talk to them about is honoring your instincts and your intellect and your feelings and what case in point, early in my career, I was working with this little girl who was in a group home, and I would come visit her weekly, and she would say, Miss Sheila, this man, there were a couple maintenance men just doing upgrades in the house. I get this crazy feeling, I get this funny feeling in my stomach whenever he comes around. And as we were talking more and more, I said, sweetie, why didn't you tell the house mother? And we went further, and she just had confided how she grew up. Her mother would always say, oh, you're so dramatic, this, that, and the third. So she was basically trained into just sit on these feelings, sit on your thoughts, sit on your emotions, defer to everyone else. I said, sweetie, let's go and talk let's go and talk to the house mother. You should never ignore how you're feeling. And so comes to find out, we talk to the house mother. There had been two other young ladies who had basically made some version of the same complaint. That story will always stand out for me because so often, particularly, if you're falling into this habitual mode of let me prove myself to someone, whether that's for validation, whether you just want to go along to get along. What I want everyone to be aware of is if you keep doing that, you're habituating yourself into neglecting and ignoring a very strong protectorate gift that we have. That's your spiritual intuition, that emotional intuition, and beyond that, just having a sense of what is best for you. You're foregoing the vote that you have in your life. So for all of these reasons, I feel like it's well worth, if you feel like this is where you need work and you fall into this category, roll your sleeves up, get into this work, be honest with yourself, and just heal it and go ahead and knock the ball out of the park. Everything literally boils down to practice in this life. The more you use these tools, the more honest you are with yourself. You're positioning yourself in this lifetime to knock the ball out of the park. That's what we're here to do, to grow, expand, to perfect for God. So that's my part 2. I'll be back very soon with some more uplifting content. Dive into it all. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.